What is up, everybody? Bingo here. I'm with the Dual Factory and Ray for this week's episode of X2 Drop, our Yu-Gi-Oh podcast we do every week, talking about something we feel like talking about. And this week, Joe suggested that we take a look back at older Yu-Gi-Oh formats and talk about our favorites, and then maybe we'll get into a debate about which one's the best, because that sounds like a lot of fun. So, Joe, since this was your topic idea, and we haven't talked about it in length on the podcast at all, I'll let you kick it off. So why'd you want to talk about this in the first place? And then what's your favorite format of all time?
I want to talk about favorite formats because it's one of those things that could lead to a lot of interesting conversations. It's everyone's opinions super different on what they thought their favorite format was and what their reasons why they thought that it was their favorite formats and stuff like that. And then just simple interactions and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be just kind of fun to talk with everyone about it.
All right. With that being said, what's your favorite format? I think I could take a guess, but.
So, you want to do favorite format, one I like to play for fun most, or
let's just start with favorite and go from there.
Okay. Well, if I really have to think about it, my favorite format from just playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I really, and I was as just playing it for fun with a retro format. I really enjoyed playing in 2014 Nationals format.
All right, I've sat down and played that with you a bit. Why is that a standout format for you?
So 2014 Nationals format was actually super interesting, and it's kind of of enigma in Yu-Gi-Oh if you think about it. For those of you who played at the time, everyone knows there was not a number one there wasn't a number one deck or a best deck if that makes sense, or something like that. It was a format that was it wasn't really discovered or a really solved format. So there were I don't know, we'll say 6 to 10 decks that were all playable or all considered tier 1 at the time. And then it's also to me it's how Yu-Gi-Oh originally was before it got out of hand and it was all combo centric and stuff like that. Or if you look at traditional Yu-Gi-Oh back in 2002 format, where you're just setting back row and attacking with monsters once per turn and stuff like that. That's the simplest form of Yu-Gi-Oh. And I think 2014 Nationals format was the last time you really saw back and forth games of Yu-Gi-Oh. So that's why I especially like playing it whenever you play casual. So for example, you have the deck that actually won the event, which was Hat, which was a culmination of 4 different really good +1 engines in Yu-Gi-Oh. There were Infernity players, which was your real first ever true combo style deck, where the idea was you open 5 cards and then you end on 11. There were also other stun decks like the Bujin deck that had a really good matchup against a lot of decks because it had non-targeting effects and not targeting effects, but non-targeting protection and stuff like that. And then you also have the stun decks Jeff Jones played decks the Quackimero deck, which they just got new support cards out of Primal Origins. The Artifact Engine melded with a lot of decks really well. Geargia was starting to become a more popular deck because it came out Return of the Duelist and it wasn't as popular when it first came out, but as 2014 rolled past and you got past all the big Dragon decks and stuff like that, and it was just slow rolling Yu-Gi-Oh, that deck became more popular. And you could just keep going on and on and on and on about how many different decks there were in that format, and that's why I like playing it so much.
Okay. Out of all of those decks you listed, what's special about your favorite deck in that format, which is probably the Dragon Ruler deck?
Oh, Mythic Ruler is by far my favorite deck in that format. So basically it was I don't want to say the weakest, but it was at that point where all the babies were gone. All your power spells and stuff like that were either limited or banned. So what I mean by that is Dragon's Ravine was gone. Gold Sark was at 1. Sacred Sword of 7 Stars was at 1. And Rejuve were super gone. And then there was a couple other cards. But even with that, the Legendary Dragon set came out. And then you had cards like Curry Bandit, which Turbo, I say that, but it was 2-turn setup. But you had Curry Bandit, you had Soul Charge. And then we just got the Blue Eye Structure deck, which had the Dragon Shrine in it. So it was a replacement for Dragon's Ravine. And it's also a deck that had a really, really good Hat matchup. So like you could just continually put 24 and 28 beaters on the field by just banishing dragons from your graveyard, and then like you just out resource your opponent at that point. And it was a lot of fun.
All right. So, I mean, we'll come back to that because obviously we're going to discuss like we're going to debate about what format is actually the best out of all three choices. But Ray, it's good to have you back on the podcast. What is your favorite format?
Well, funnily enough, it's the format right before what Joe was talking about. It's the 2014 format before Primal Origins and Dragons of Legend, the first one, came out. Because I really liked that. It was just like a bunch of Xyz decks were really good. You still had Dragon Rulers, you had, but you didn't you didn't have to deal with the artifacts, and you also didn't have to deal with every deck having Soul Charge at 3.
That was the best part.
I mean, you felt like a god when you top deck when your opponent cleared your board and then you top decked a Soul Charge, but also it felt equally miserable. Like you fucking outed all your opponent's stuff. You built a board, and then your opponent's just like, oh, I'm just gonna draw a Soul Charge. It's fine.
All right, I'm not gonna argue that.
All right, so in that format, what's special about it? Since Joe wants to cut you off.
So that's when I actually came back and started playing the game like competitively for the first time, and I just really liked how that format felt. It was like like Joe said, it was like that was a wide format. There were a lot of decks then, and every deck did have like boss monsters they would go into, but a lot of it was still like a lot of the extra deck was still like toolboxes, where you would just have a lot of slots that you could go into generic monsters to out whatever your opponent was doing.
All right, and what'd you play during that format?
I played Constellars. I pretty much just only jammed Constellars that whole format.
All right, was that a meta strategy or was it like off meta?
I wouldn't. Yeah, that was off meta. Like Pallades was good because they would just make you just wait for them to commit to making their boss monster and bounce it away. But I don't think it was meta at the time.
That format was an enigma because I remember Harpy Ladies being good for like 2 minutes.
Yep.
All right. So that's your pick. Mine, and I've noticed a lot of people's favorite format is like the first format that they really got into right after they came back into the game. And mine's no different. My favorite format is post Maximum Crisis Zoo format, right after we got Chakanine before Fusion Sub was discovered. So that's my favorite format of all time. I felt like the mirror match was it was so much fun. If you didn't play it right, you were going to lose the game. But it never felt unwinnable. It never felt like you were just going to get destroyed by your opponent. It was that was before Masterpiece came out, right? Or was
Maximum Crisis came out, and that was the True Draco cards.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
That was like the set. I didn't shift to Draco Zoo to Link Zoo format, but going first or second, like yes, if your opponent opened double D barrier, like it felt really bad. But outside of that, like I've learned a lot during that format, and I felt like the mirror match was a lot of fun to play. So that's pretty much why I picked it. And we all know before Grass came out, that was the only deck you could play.
You're not wrong.
All right. So we all have our picks. There's a lot we didn't talk about. So if you ask around, you'll hear some people say GOAT format. You'll hear some people say Teledab format, Necroz format. And like my question is why isn't there any support or sanctioned Konami like side events that are older formats? Because that's half, like, people love older formats and people want to go back and play and talk about older formats and remember those times in Yu-Gi-Oh! Why don't they do stuff like that?
That's a good question because, like, I know a lot of people who love playing retro. They tried. I can't remember what it was called, but I remember it was like Generations or something like that. But like, it was like really weird because like you could play like decks based off the era of Yu-Gi-Oh! So there was like Yugi's formats, then Jaden's, and then Yusei's and stuff like that. But like that's the closest thing we've got to it for like sanctioned or anything like that. It was kind of weird. Plus,
Yeah, I remember that. They only did that for like 3 YCSs, didn't they? As like all
Yeah.
side events.
And there was like a really, really weird. It kind of sucked too because like they all the formats went by their own ban list, and like you could play cross ban lists. So like you could be like the synchro format versus XYZ format, but there was a Macier the Destructor FTK that was going around the Yugi format, and it made it kind of gay. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, and then like for certain things, like you had the it was like the Yugi format, you could only play fusion monsters, and then the like Yusei format, you could only play synchros, and like each one locked you out of different extra deck types.
Like they tried, but like it was like kind of like how Duel Links is Diet Yu-Gi-Oh. Like we got Diet Retro formats.
Yeah, because obviously, like the fun part of a format, there's gonna be like at certain times there's gonna be synchro decks that are good when they were printing Xyz monsters and stuff like that, or you just want to have multiple extra deck options to go into. So
I would love it if they did retro format. I just think the problem with like doing it is like because there's so many different ones that you couldn't do like all of them at like one event. Like you'd have to save them for like YCSs and stuff like that. And you could like advertise it, being like, "Hey, in this YCS, we're going to be playing such and such format at side events and stuff like that."
Yeah, I was going to say they pretty much have to be limited to YCSs so that you can go on the page and say, "Hey, we are playing this side event's going to be this format with this ban list. Build a deck, and here's the prize or whatever." And so you can prepare because you can't. Not everybody can build a 2014 pre-nationals deck on the fly. You know.
There's some pretty cool formats you could do too, like ones we didn't mention. Like there's Inzactor wind-up formats. There is when Chaos Dragons came out, obviously Necros format for 2015 Nationals. Like there's like so many different retro ones you could do. Like but the options are limitless, and I'm surprised they haven't actually taken advantage of it because I think it'd be like really cool. It'd draw a lot of players.
I think the hard part of implementing something like that is because the options are so wide that like you have to figure out a way to make it worthwhile to build the decks, because like if you swap the ban list you're using every YCS, that means I'm going to have to keep building these old decks, right? And that's not a cheap thing for certain decks that don't have a lot of reprints, or even if it is, you know, most Yu-Gi-Oh players want to get a deck in max rarity, or they want to at least have it foiled out.
Yeah, but like your want isn't a requirement. You know, you could get the ultra rare Necros versus the secrets, and
don't you speak that blasphemy?
I'm just saying you could. A real player would already have them, but
yeah, I guess that was like a bad point to make. My main point is more like, all right, well, you almost have to do it like a season where you're like, we're gonna run under this ban list for the next few YCSs, and then we'll look at moving to another one. Because if you're like, well, this YCS we're doing this ban list, and this next one we're doing this ban list, is it really worth it? Like, how many players are going to be interested in, like, oh, I'm going to pick up this deck for one event, and then I'm going to have to find somebody to sell it to, because I don't, like, are they really going to want to hold on to those cards?
Yeah,
and then have to pick up a whole nother deck for the next
That's a fair
YCS.
point. They could have, like, 2 seasons in the year. Like, hey, the first half of the year we're playing the side event format is going to be this, and then they'll switch it up halfway through, or they could even do it the whole year. I wouldn't be opposed to a secondary format that's supported the entire year, you know, like, okay, I scrubbed out of the main event. Like, I have my 2012 deck on me and I want to go play in that event.
Here's the thing though, you know, there's going to be like some degenerate that's going to mention, I want to play this, and people who create the YCS is going to be like, oh yeah, we'll do that. And the next thing you know, we're all playing for the side event. We're playing pay format after everything got emergency ban or limited on that disc, and some jackass is playing Monarch FTK.
Yeah, but Konami can. Here's a crazy thought. You know, start an official poll on their Twitter to get involvement with the community, so that they know, like, okay, here's 10. They could do bracket breakdown for all I care. It's like, okay, here's 30 formats out of these brackets.
Yeah,
okay,
give us something. You know?
And if they're that scared about it, every single player that has any ounce of competitiveness knows what GOAT format is. If they want to start there, like, I'm not the biggest fan. I enjoy playing GOAT format, but like, I don't have a hard-on for it like other people.
You know how many people would come out of hiding if they saw YCS's had 2002 format?
2002. All right, I can't wait for them to put Ultimate Rare Mechanical Chaser in the next OTS pack for 2002 format.
I would come out of retirement.
Yo, if you were sitting down at a 2002 format and your opponent normal summon their TP1 mechanical chaser. Would you just give it to him?
I'd be pissed, but I'd scoop out of pure respect.
Yeah, like that's unbelievable.
I'd be like, you did what?
Yeah, why is that on the field right now? Like, I understand max rarity, but there's a limit in playability versus, like, I want to protect my investment.
That'd be awful. I'll tell you one thing. Here's one thing that would happen, right? Like, we would be like voting for these, like if Konami ever did that, like you were saying. But a bunch of jackasses, we decide to ruin the season. We'd all be stuck in. If we wanted to play retro format, we'd all be stuck playing Edison format.
I'm not
eventually
familiar,
you're gonna
actually.
hit. You're gonna hit formats you're not a fan of, and that's just the thing. That's just a format you probably won't play as a secondary format, but other players will enjoy it.
That's fine. Like, Joe really enjoys 2014 Nationals format. I'll play it with him, but like, I didn't play during that time. I don't have nostalgia goggles for it. Like, I don't like. If I scrubbed out of the event and was going to a YCS, maybe I'll brush up on it. Maybe I'll build a deck. Maybe I won't. But that's fine. Not everybody has to be interested in it, but enough people would to justify playing it.
That makes a good point.
Yeah, and I mean, it also opens the door. If they know they're going to be doing stuff like that, well, then they can make, they can come up with different pricing for it, or even make like products to reprint, because they know what they're going to choose, right? Like, before they set it, if they're doing these polls, they're going to see what's ahead, and it's like, all right, well, we can just make reprint sets to make money off this, and then it makes they make money off it. B, it makes the cards cheaper for other people, people who weren't playing at the time to get them.
Yeah, if they let's say they did a Nationals format, right? Because that was a big deal. Or you can't really do a Worlds format, or maybe they could. People didn't get to play Worlds. Whatever it was, they can take like one of those 3 deck style sets. You know what I'm talking about, and put national winning decks in those of different kinds, if there was any variety, or just a structure deck of that, so people have those cards easily accessible, and you have to pick up a handful on the side. Like,
that'd be kind of cool, honestly. I don't know, like, would it be like the winner's deck, or like?
Yeah, I mean, like, my one of my favorite things Pokemon does is every year for Nationals or Worlds, they release the first place in Seniors, Juniors, Masters, and sometimes the second place if there's a repeat. They won't print the same deck twice. And those decks are released. They're not legal for tournament play technically, but you can buy it, you can test with it, and most locals will let you play with it. And you can just have those cards. Now, if they were doing this for a sanctioned event, they just print a structured deck that a player won an event in that format with, and say, hey, here's the deck. Like,
or they could even do it like, I mean, they've done like the legendary decks before, right? Where you buy a like $25 box that's got 3 pre-made decks.
Yeah.
And just do it like that and be like, all right, well, here's some of the, like, here's 2 of the top decks, and then maybe like a rogue deck, or like here's 2 decks that, like, the top 2 decks from, YCS, from the like Nats.
Yeah, here's a first place E-Drag list, here's a first place Spellbook list, and here's a first place fucking Evil Swarm deck.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think that'd be friggin' awesome, and it would make those events a lot easier to play. Or you could even make the events like they have 3 separate decks, and it's like, okay, when you buy in, it's a $15 buy-in or $20 buy-in, but you get that deck and you have to play with that deck. Like, even if they did something like that, it'd be better than not having anything at all.
No, I agree. That would be kind of dope, honestly.
Because it's like sealed, but it's a competitive deck in that format. Like, that actually sounds pretty dope.
They could swap formats in between each YCS, which would keep it alive a bit. If it's just like, it's just like a $15 to $20 buy-in, and you just get the deck. Yeah. Because then you don't have to worry about picking it up. And
they could only print those for the YCSs. Like, they don't even have to be released product. Like, that sounds pretty dope.
Collectability for it, and then you could do something that would like drive collectors into it. Like, make one of the cards like a high rarity reprint.
Yeah, that sounds super dope.
like kind of like a specific like a collector rare for the card and stuff like that. That'd be kind of sweet.
Yeah, like
Yeah, for like the baby dragons, like when you do E-Dragon format, like give the babies like super rares.
Yeah.
Yo, we
Like-
could do hat form. We could not. We could do 2014 Nationals format, and we could make the hands ulti finally.
I don't know about ultis, like, but
they're clean looking secrets as it is.
yeah,
I'm not disagreeing, but that is kind of a neat idea. Like you could just like take like
Yeah,
specific like cards that like shined in the format. Like let's see,
because
here.
like maybe give like Mermelio like an ultra or a secret finally.
if they structured it like that, that puts like people want to play it because those cards can only be obtained from the YCS, and they want them like to sell them, obviously, but they'll play, and who knows what the prize is. That actually sounds super cool.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of time to set that up, and then like Konami's not that.
I feel
great.
like if Konami gave me fucking $1,000, I could structure it for them for the next year. Like it doesn't sound that complicated.
Hey man, we don't run multi-million-dollar companies, so we have no idea what.
Well, neither does Konami.
Oh, wow, wow. Tell us how you really feel, my guy.
Hey,
Let me ask you this, because we've been talking about like all this. So like, obviously, there's a reference of like tier 0 formats. What was your favorite tier 0 format?
I mean, I already said mine, Zoo, but
Yeah, but I said tier 0.
okay, 34 spots out of Top Cut isn't tier 0. What is?
Calm down.
Secondary has to be Necros format. I don't know if that was tier 0.
I don't know if that could be tier 0. It was close.
Yeah,
It was definitely close.
Full power Necros was good. My favorite was probably full power Pepe. You could just do some dumb stuff.
There was really dumb stuff, and like you just look at your hand and like you ask yourself, can you end on Infinity and Rafflesia? And you're like, can I do it? And you're like, yes. Well, then you have a chance to win. But then like you couldn't do it, and then your opponent did back to you, and it was awful. And then the Modern Stretch deck came out and kind of ruined the format. Let's be real.
Yep.
all right. What was your favorite tier 0 format?
Oh, Dragon Ruler format. Sorry. Let me rephrase that. Baby Ruler format. That format was insane.
There aren't that many tier 0 formats because like you could argue that was like a tier 0.5 deck because you had spellbooks.
Well, I mean, yeah, every deck like here's the thing though, like and my buddy Bobby actually says this the best is a deck, or especially like for like spellbooks and like this is an extreme case and like in that format with Evil's Form is the deck is only good or as good as its best matchup. And like that's where like that kind of comes in. Like for like Spellbook, okay, it had a really good like matchup against Dragon Ruler, but like it lost to like a bunch of like stupid decks. Like for example, like if you went up against like the Evil Swarm deck and you lost a dice roll and you couldn't like establish Jowgen and you got Eradicated, well then you're probably saying it's a very inappropriate language and walking out of the event really mad. And then like it just lost to stupid things, you know what I mean? But then again, Dragon Rulers losing to Jowgen's kind of stupid, so there's that.
What I'm not that familiar with Teledab format. That was a tier 0 format, right?
That was a true tier 0 format.
That was one. There's a very few formats that are inarguably tier 0, and that's one of them.
I wasn't playing during the time, but I remember reading like event coverage and stuff like that, and like the average Teledad deck was like $2,500 to $3,000 to play, and it played like multiple dads, malicious. Dimension Fusion wasn't legal, but like you just had all the new level 8 synchros come out and stuff like that, and Emergency Teleport came out, and like you had like Krebins and stuff like that, and like the format was like super expensive, and then like if you wanted it to be like top tier Teledad, you had to shell out money for Crush Card Virus because like it was an auto win when you flipped it. Like it was like there was an insane amount of money, and I remember hearing like Josh tells the stories all the time as we watch people sign like pink slips of cars over for like buying Crush cards.
All right. Ray, so you got your favorite's Pepe, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah.
All right. So what since Pepe, what do you guys think was the least enjoyable, either tier 0 or close to tier 0 format?
Groms is going to kill me, but I did not enjoy Spiral format at all.
I mean, that was by far my number one. Full power Spirals, unbearable.
Bros, full power okay, I take that back. It's a tough one. It's either between full power Spiral or I don't know if it was considered tier. I don't think it's considered tier 0, but it felt like you're playing against a tier 0 deck, but Goki. Like, that was just awful.
I don't know. I left the game around full power spiral, so I'm gonna have to say that's the worst, just because I legitimately quit playing Yu-Gi-Oh for like.
Yep.
Bro, when they summoned Quick Fix and activated Machine Dupe, you just wanted to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
like fuck this guy. And then like the mirror match was awful because everyone was main decking fucking Reaper and no one would summon a monster for like 20 turns for fear of losing your double helix. Oh, it was fucking awful.
Yep, that was before Call by the Grave and all that. Goki, I wanted to say Goki, but it was like only 50% of the meta, I think, at the time. But that was just, there was nothing fun. If you went second,
if you going up against a tier 0 deck, like it was just
did. It was fucking miserable because even if you were playing Striker at the time and you set up 2 interruptions and had a hand trap, they could full combo you through that and kill you.
Well, I think like the most frustrating part of it is like the Goki deck first came out, right? And everyone's like, "Oh shit, what does this deck do?" And everyone's like, "The Gokis keep replacing themselves, right?" Yeah. So they're like, "Oh, Jerome Lockford's a really good fucking side deck card against us." And well, the good Goki players showed us that one, you only have to resolve 1 Isold to win because when you do that, you're searching 3 monsters and you're getting a free 1 on the field, and then your Firewall Dragon, which went from 3 to 1 and stayed at 1 for goddamn long.
Fucking God!
Could add 3 in your hand. So resolving 1 Isold guaranteed 6 additional monsters, not counting Goki effects, which was fucking awful. And then Konami's like, man, it'd be really weird if like we would release this card that took 4 out of your opponent's hand, and then next thing you know, Dumbledore Dragon is there.
Yeah.
And then, even after you took away these cool cards, like, you want to see number 86, Ron McGinnigan, whatever the fuck his name is, Turbo? And we're like, no, we don't. And everyone's like, all right, cool,
Heroic Champion Turbo?
Yeah, it was Heroic. Yeah, it was
Rongo Bongo.
Bongo Turbo. And they would just summon Rongo with like 8 materials, and it was the worst fucking thing in the world, and they had like the weirdest fucking outs.
XYZ
Encore,
yeah, that's what it was.
Something with some really weird cards, and people thought it was good and realized it was too specific. But like you had like so many, you couldn't even kaiju it. It's stupid.
There is no iteration of Goki that was enjoyable. Come at me, Aldo. You especially with Goblin. I think that was my least favorite iteration.
That was the worst version of Goki. Like it was just awful. Like they extra link you. You can't target. Like, and then like was it? Yeah, it was legal. So we had one Nationals format where Goblin and Gumblar were both legal at the same time.
Yeah, it was very brief. If they normal summon Suprex and then get Cobra and then make Isold, and you have Droll, they're still searching 3 cards, one of them being rematch. Like, I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but it wasn't me.
Guaranteed 6 monsters. And then, like, I know some people would try to be cheeky and Reaper Isold, and then, like, it still didn't matter.
No, it absolutely didn't.
Because their deck was just gas. Like, that's all it was.
All right, we got like 2 minutes left, and I'm pretty heated after that. So, what do you guys want to talk
about? Can we talk about the format that never happened, and that was XYZ Dragon Cannon Turbo format?
That happened. You just weren't there.
It happened in my mind.
I just remember summoning that card in 2003.
So, do you guys remember that time that Black Wings were good?
No.
Bro.
Gofu's a pretty good card.
It was a fucking time where it was scary when your opponent activated a Black Whirlwind and summoned a Shura and you couldn't stop it.
I mean, what were your options to stop it?
You're not wrong. And then people had the argument where like that you should still search even if the Shura gets bottomless. I was like, nah. It's hilarious.
I remember every time a new type of summoning would come out, our like Lorenzo, our local Blackwings player, would show back up and be like, this card makes Blackwings busted, play for 2 locals, be like, this is some shit, and quit playing again. Every time. Happened with Pendulums, happened with Lynx.
That did happen. Remember that? Oh, who remembers the first Pendulum that would come out and everyone hated Cliffort players for like 10 minutes? Great.
Everyone still hates Cliffort players.
Hey, feel great. Clean Nation, shout out to Jordan Lee.
All right. Well, Ray, it was awesome having you on again. It was fun. Did not know where this was going, but we had a lot of fun with it. So, Joe, do you have any closing comments?
2014 Nationals format, greatest format ever. Don't at me. And Douglas French has no sauce.
You have no sauce. Hey.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of X2 Drop. If you did, please remember to check us out every week on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and a bunch of other places at 8 a.m. on Mondays and 10 a.m. on YouTube. And with that being said, I will see you guys back here next week. Peace out.
Okay, bye.